it should be going live, but you
It
know,
just
I'm
says
not.
live from my computer.
Oh, okay. For some reason, it still loads on mine whenever this. This becomes really fun. But anyway, so to start, oh, we forgot to introduce ourselves. We always do that. Okay, my name is
Who
Fran,
are we?
or Frank, or Frankie, or whatever you want to call me. You can give me a new name, or Piranha. That's my gender performance art name, and I am trying
From my
to.
computer.
Sorry. The other thing is, once that
Okay.
YouTube video pops up, the sound immediately starts. So there's always just like randomly, I start talking in double speak because there's just like this YouTube video playing. Anyway, so I am a artist, gender performance artist, which is just fancy speak for drag queen. I am 18 and a leftist, and yeah. So, Melora, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Melora. That's the only thing I go by. I am she, her, hers. I'm still 17. I am not like I would say that I'm like a self-proclaimed musician rather than like an actual whatever, because I did used to do singing. But anyways, yes, musician. Also, yes, definitely leftist, and yes, also, yeah, just yeah. I'm very awkward with these things, so.
I never know what to say. So I'll start with my presentation. So I'm starting the timer here to make sure I don't go over because I just love to talk. So let's.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm awful at like timing things. Anyway, here we go. So here's my presentation. Gotta move our faces over here. Present. Go into the present mode. Okay. So my presentation is specifically about communism and children's media.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
an interesting so I am a communist, and this is, I'm moving our little faces again. And so I think it's really interesting the ways in which people have been taught about communism and the ways that we've been very early on programmed to believe things about communism that aren't true. With any political ideology, there is going to be bad people who have done bad things and people who have misinterpreted what it means. And so,
Yes.
so often when people talk about different ideologies, whether that's communism, socialism, etc., their misconceptions are brought up that come from real places where we refer to, like, the places in which we currently talk about communism a lot are like China and North Korea and things like this, which the way that they are shown in our country, it isn't communism. The different idea, like the different. Sorry, I'm stuttering, but basically what I'm trying to say is what we know of different ideologies is not actually accurate to what the definitions are, because you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. That doesn't mean that what you believe in actually represents the ideology. And that's my disclaimer. My other disclaimer is I forgot to do our Core Press disclaimer that my beliefs, Melora's beliefs, yada yada, are our own. Core Press does not necessarily have to reflect all of those. They've just given us this platform, yada yada. There you go. Anyway, on to my presentation. Oh, it doesn't want to. My presentation said no. So specifically what I'm talking about, comparing the children's media to here, is the Red Scare. So there was two Red Scares. One was in 1919 to 1920, and the other one was from 1947 to 1957. That's an approximate date. Everybody says something different. And honestly, you know, a Red Scare is defined as, you know, a widespread fear of leftists. That can be anarchists, communists, etc. And so a widespread fear of that is something that, you know, we still see now. There's a lot of fear around Antifa and all of this business, and so many would argue that it is still a thing, that we are still in a Red Scare, that has never ended. But these are the two periods that people focus on. This is where the term Red Scare comes from. The first of them was super racist. Part of the increased hostility and discomfort around communism was because Black people were unionizing. So because they wanted equal pay, they wanted to be treated equally. So the first of the two Red Scares, and that's not a thing that people like to mention, but the hatred of communism is, you know, deeply connected to racism. And the second wave of the Red Scare in 1947 to 1957 was super queer phobic. Basically anybody who and this, I'm gonna argue here that, so the queer phobic piece of the Red Scare went far into the 90s. That's when it was no longer allowed to people were no longer allowed to fire people, which on another date I'll go deeper into. You know, I have limited time here, but the second wave of it was super queer phobic. Anybody who was gender non-conforming or suspected to be gay, which, you know, those two things are linked, because if you are feminine, people assume that you're gay. So those two things, so people assumed that had to do with being a communist, and I'll get into that a little more. And the question that they would ask people commonly, which I want people to keep in their minds for my presentation, is, are you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? And that's like a pretty famous question that they would ask people. You've probably heard that somewhere before, but keep that in your mind, knowing that was used to torment people, fire them from their jobs, harass people of color and queer people. So this was some children's media that was used during the Red Scare. The first one is from bubblegum. So in the bubblegum, they would have like little trading cards, and it literally says Children's Crusade Against Communism. I thought that was a really interesting one. The second is a political cartoon, because as people know, that, you know, kids love to read the cartoons in newspapers. I read them as a kid. I didn't understand them, but, you know, that's a little bit of propaganda that we get embedded in our heads, because it's just propaganda. The last is a cartoon that I watched, and in the cartoon, I mean, I watched it to research this, not like as a kid. In the cartoon, they use a brown person as the communist, and the good guys are like hardworking white dudes, and it's like super weird and racist and really inaccurate. So did it really ever end? As I said before, so the example that I'm going to be going into is modern day media that references communism. So I wanted to focus on one example, and it's from this Disney Channel show that I never watched, but I thought that this example was like really just like hit the nail on the head. So it's from a show called Girl Meets World. Did you ever watch that, Melora?
Sorry, I'm trying to get my mute button. Yes and no. Like, like when I used to watch Disney Channel when I was younger, that was one of the shows that I did watch, but I didn't really watch it like frequently. I would only see like a few episodes here and there.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you've seen this one. So the episode, I'll just play it. Let's just, let me know if you can hear it. Can you hear that? Oh, it stopped playing. Can you hear it? Yeah, that's really weird. I hate this. Why does it do this? Come on, please. Please play for me. Okay, well, hold on. Let me do. It says share computer sound is the I want to know why this is not working. Okay. Let me Uh-oh. That's not good. There should be sound here. Let's see if the second video plays sound. No. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everyone. As anybody here who's used Zoom even once knows, it's a mess. So what works one time just like won't work the next time. So this, I'm not exactly sure why it won't. It says my volume's on all the way. Let's okay, well, I have these up on my computer and they play sound on my computer. So I guess I'll just play the audio off of my computer. Oops, I totally skipped to the end. Anyway, that's frustrating. Okay, so. Oy vey. Okay, no peeking. Okay. That is so weird. Okay. Why is this one freaking out? Okay. Oy vey. Every week it's got to be something. Sorry for the delay. Basically, this is very difficult. Okay. Oh, now this one doesn't want to play either, even though it was working earlier. That's super fun. Okay, well, let me just pull it up off of my files. Yay, Zoom! Anyway,
maybe you can just tell us what they say in the episode.
I mean, I had to re-record this like a dozen times, so I literally could like lip sync what they're saying. So yeah, we'll just do that. We'll just do that. Maybe I can just here. He's like, "What's communism, everybody?" No, he says, "Hold on, let me." Okay, I'll just
Rowan Blanchard.
like communism bad. What's communism? And then the kids are like, "That sounds kind of good." That's okay. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So he's like, here we go. Here we go. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. Let me know if you can hear it off my computer when it starts to play. I know that this is not ideal, but here we go with it.
No, you're all good.
Okay. I got to get to the right part now. Here it is. Okay. The audio on my computer on the actual video, like the episode, is now not working. Isn't that funny? Okay, here we go. Okay. Can you hear it well?
Yeah.
Are you now, or have you ever been, a member of the Communist Party?
The Cold War, sir. Democracy versus communism. You get what you earn versus everybody gets the same thing.
Very good, Farkle. I didn't even see your lips move.
My answer to so, sir. Do you remember the information? It only makes sense to me when I can get in trouble for it. Wait, so you're telling me that in communism, everybody shares with everybody else? Yes, Riley. The communist philosophy is that everybody's the same and everybody gets the same thing. And it's a party?
I want so desperately to be proud of you.
So you mean when somebody doesn't know something on a test and somebody does, you're supposed to share that information?
Yeah, that's communism. But it's a little more complicated than that. You know the American Dream?
Yeah.
Well, this is the other thing. What do you all want to be when you grow up?
I haven't decided yet.
I see you as a factory worker.
Well, what if I don't want to? I want to be a factory worker.
I see you as a potato farmer.
But I prefer the warmth of the factory. You think they'll take over the world?
You sure can, just as long as everybody can take over the world with you.
I'm not taking over the world with factory girl and potato heads.
It's totally not synced at all. That's so
Your
funny.
individual
Okay.
goals don't matter. You're one of many. There are no social classes. Nobody is more or less successful than anybody else. That's communism.
Hmm.
That's communism.
That's my alarm telling me I've been talking for too long. I told it not to do that. Why did it do that? It's annoying. Anyway, so
I thought it was where they scared the
yeah, anyway, it goes on,
That's
and there's like the dad like hugs an American flag, like just a lot of weird. There you go. There it is. Because that's her dad. I don't know, but anyway, as you saw, it was like communism is bad. Oh, here the two girls literally quote Marxism, quote Marx, Karl Marx. Sorry, they quote Karl Marx. They say his famous quote, which is hold on, let me get the correct. I had it right here. Okay, basically, I can't find it, but the quote that's like to each his Karl Marx, to each according to his needs, for each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. And they quote that in this part, which I think is really funny because it literally says from each according to his ability. So like nobody's gonna force you to be like something that you can't do or don't want to do. Like it's literally based on your ability, what you can and will want to do, which is like we already live in a system where you're forced to do labor that you don't want to do anyway. So it's just like it's strange that they even quoted Karl Marx and did so in a way that like totally doesn't it like contradicts what they said. And he like is like, anyway, it's just a whole nightmare. The second one isn't gonna play, but this one he's like, I don't want to be like them. What's wrong with them? And he's like, isn't the beautiful thing, this is what the teacher's saying, he's like, isn't the most beautiful thing about being in a free state is that you can learn about different types of you can explore different beliefs. And then he's giving them their grades here, and he gives the 3 of them a C because they each got an A, but an A divided by 3 is C because they didn't do it on their own. They did it together. As you can see, they're wearing like soldier uniforms because communism. They're also surrounded by a wall because because the other kids put a wall around them. I'm not exact. That was really just like out of the blue. And they're saying, oh my god, this part. Okay, so don't look at that. So this part is like, I need to find this part because you just need to hear it. I can't explain it for it. It's just awful in all the ways. How did I already lose the? Oh my god! Why did it do this to me? My computer hates me. There's more like weird propaganda that's just like blatantly not true, and then yada yada. And then we get this gem where she. Oh my god! It's playing an ad. Okay, for Nutrigrain bars. Okay, here we go. So. Here we go. La da da da. Could you hear it okay the last time?
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't want to play now. This is such a blast.
I'm sorry that the stuff isn't working, but
Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay, wait, this part. No. Okay. Oh my god, another ad. I'm gonna scream. This is why I pre-recorded them. I even like cropped them and like made the sound all good. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't know why. Technology, yay! But
maybe maybe you should. If it's not working, maybe you should just explain like what what exactly.
This is working. Okay. It's just that I have an ad playing. So here we go. No, it doesn't want to. Now it's another ad. But anyway, I'll just start talking about the next part while this ad. Oh, it's 8 seconds. But so he's saying that now they're all the same because of. Oh, here we go.
A divided by 3 is a C. Look at you. You're all the same. You're average. You're common.
And she's like,
communism. This is why it fell. People didn't want to all be the same.
Without incentive, there's no motivation. Without motivation, there's no advancement. In a truly free society, we share the best parts of ourselves without cheating. Because we get to learn who we are individually. Come on, guys. Separately, you're the best individuals I know. I miss you. Please come back. Maya?
Yeah. I think I'd like it better if I was doing well because I was doing well. But now you're not me. There's only one of you, Uncle. There's only one of all of us. It's better that way, isn't it?
We were founded on the concept of welcoming all people from all different parts of the world and encouraging each of them to find out who they are.
Why?
Because the individual is valued here.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, it's so bad.
Mr. Fryer, tear down this wall.
The part where they look at the flag and put their hands on their hearts, I was like, who wrote that? Who wrote that?
I actually, yeah. You know, now that I've actually seen like this, I feel like I may have seen like this episode, but it's just so funny to me because I feel like a lot of that stuff when it involves like, I don't know, like different like systems or like propaganda against like another thing, like communism in this case, like
Yeah.
it's always very like, it's just funny because I think that when I look back and actually like think about certain things, like I didn't know like when I was younger that like capitalism was a thing, but I did know what we should not be, you know, and that like, you know, because we're always like taught, you know, in a way that like communism is like a personality trait rather than like an actual like political theory.
Yeah.
You know, of like and
weird. This whole
yeah.
episode is called Communism because it's saying that like communism makes everybody the same person, which is like really like just wow.
Yeah, like exactly, like capitalism in this scene is very downplayed here, where he's like, oh, the individual is valued, instead of saying that like,
sorry, go ahead.
No, instead of saying that like, yeah, the individual is valued, but for self-interest and profit for that individual only.
But it also isn't like it's it's just bullshit. And also the part where he's like, this country was founded on like inviting everybody in from everywhere and like whatever, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like literally Europeans came here and stole the land. Like what? Inviting people in, like, huh? We're what?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, what I meant, exactly. Like what I meant to say is like not every individual like obviously like is guaranteed success in capitalism. It's just like the select few that are, you know, and like I said here, like it's very like downplayed as if capitalism values everyone when it doesn't.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, like exactly. Like there's not really any like clear, it's more of like this washed up view of like communism and saying that it's bad. Like, you know, like this episode in a way is like sarcastic almost, of like, oh, like here we are saying that like this is what like, you know, it's just like I guess like I mean like sarcastic in the way that it's like funny to them that this is like on Disney Channel, you know, like, oh yeah, because we're a capitalist society. It would just be funny if we had an episode about how communism is bad.
Yeah. All right.
Like, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I you know, value your time and I want you to be able to present yours. So I'm just gonna like.
Oh, no, mine isn't long.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna really quickly go through my last, I think, 2 slides. Yeah. So I wanted to also quickly talk about the Lavender Scare. It was part of the second wave. I talked a little bit about it, the like fear of queer people. So it was a mass fear of queer people working in the government. The idea behind it was that queer people were more likely to be communists, and the other part of that was that they feared that closeted queer people would be blackmailed into harming the government. And this sort of resulted in panic, investigations, and tormenting queer people, and also just anybody who was not, you know, a stereotypical man or woman. They were harassed, and similar to how the last question that was referenced both in the show and in my slide about communism, are you now or have you ever been a part of the Communist Party? This was the question that was asked to people who were suspected of being queer. It said, information has come to our attention that you are homosexual. What comment do you care to make? And so this was used, they got information on gay bars, arrests that had been made, like just, it was like this full blown investigation trying to track down queer people. It resulted in a lot of people quitting their jobs, leaving their jobs, and in a few cases, people did kill themselves. It was just like a horrible thing that happened, and happened far into the 90s. And even past that, there's, you know, there was laws were put in place, but laws don't stop discrimination. So anyway, so I wanted to talk, connecting this back to the episode. In the episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about, so connecting the Lavender Scare to media. So the Lavender Scare was a fear of gender nonconformity, because the way that they knew that men were gay and women were gay was because they didn't adhere to gender roles. And so I wanted to compare that to the media trope of the man in the dress. And it's, you know, comedic. They're like, haha, man in a dress. Here are some examples. It's been used since forever. And in the bottom right corner is from this episode. So in this episode, the little boy ends up wearing a dress and a wig to be his mom, to be a lawyer, it was just, the episode was already like all over the place. But anyway, so there's that right there. I just thought that was an interesting connection, and that's all I had, but I have lots more to say. But in the for time's sake, Melora, it is your turn.
It's funny that you did one on like communism, because I kind of did mine on like capitalist propaganda. So it's like, yeah, but no, I actually when I looked up like propaganda for like kids, just like in general and like in shows and whatnot, for me, for shows, not a lot of things popped up. But when I looked up like kid propaganda, just like in general, like mainly like stuff about like wars came up.
Right.
But as I was doing that, I had like I don't know, like an idea popped into my head about like capitalism, because I was talking about it with my friend yesterday. I went on like a social distance walk with my friend yesterday. So, but yesterday I was actually talking with her about how a lot of kids today that I have seen specifically think that like, you know, like their goal in life is to like make like a lot of money, you know, not to like support themselves, but to like become like, for example, like an influencer, as like, I don't know, like as someone that I know who said that their friends kind of like that's all they want to do. Even though they're like in college for like different things, like that's all they want to be, is just an influencer so that they can make a lot of money. And I think that like, you know, this idea that, I don't know, I just feel like kids are like raised in the sense of like, oh, like in order to succeed, like you must do this and you must make that. And like it's put out there that, you know, like people who are rich have like easier lives because they don't have to do as much. They can just do whatever they want. And, you know, kids see that, like, you know, like today, like people who are like online, like like I said, like influencers, musicians, actors, actresses, all those types of people, TikTok people, like all those people make like so much money, you know, and people see like the things they have, the houses they're at, you know, all these things that they're able to do, like because they have so much money. And kids want that. They see how easy that life is. And I think that like it's just like an unrealistic type of like vision that like capitalism raises you with, of like, oh, you can do this if you try like hard enough. But it's like that success isn't guaranteed though. And a lot of those people are born into it rather than actually achieving it, you know, like nepotism. Like it's like, I don't know, it's all just very like whatever. I've just been like, but it's just interesting because I've been learning about like the different types of like economic systems in my economics class, with like different whatnot, like market free in parentheses market economy, and then like mixed market economy, command economies, traditional economies. And I think that like with capitalism, what a lot of people, it's just interesting because like you were saying before with communism, a lot of people don't know like the actual definition you know, they just see it and they're like, oh, bad, because like we've had like movies that demonstrate that, like, you know, the Russians will come, like, for example, like the Red Dawn movies.
Yeah.
Like those, like, I remember when I saw like the one with Patrick Swayze when I was in like 4th grade, I think, because my papa had it turned on in his living room. And I just remember like watching that, and like they were like in the school, and then all of a sudden like different like people who were like portraying Russians just like parachute out of the sky and like crash into everyone, and they're just everywhere, and they've like overtaken the country in the movie. I think there's like 2, maybe 3. I know that they remade one, but like, you know, or like the episode of like Girl Meets World, like kind of like low-key explaining that, like, and like perpetuating the fact that, like, you know, to kids that like communism is supposedly bad, you know, like, but we don't actually know in a way like what communism or capitalism means, you know. We're just raised with like, oh, communism's bad, but let's not educate you on our system, you know, because education is power and knowledge is power, but you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna say that, yeah, it's like, it's very difficult, like, to get actual information that is not biased about these things, which, you know, there is no biased information. Everything is written by somebody who has an opinion, but, you know, to get information on, you know, where it actually came from, you need to actually read the, you know, Communist Manifesto, read like, and the same thing with basically what I'm trying to say is that, you know, to actually learn about where the different ideologies came from, and where that stemmed from, what the original thought process was, what the actual definition is, to remove all of the, you know, historical information, to remove all of the basically the grime that sits on top of all of these ideologies that prevents us from actually understanding what they are. We learn about, you know, all of these other things, but we never learn about the actual ideologies. And to actually learn about those, like, people need to put in the effort themselves. And unfortunately, there's most of these things are things that people are only able to learn if they go to college, and if they choose to further learn those things, or if they choose to on their own. And there's a ironically, to learn about class struggle and to learn about these different systems, there's a classist barrier, a divide, an issue that creates that getting higher education on these is difficult. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I said that in a weird way, but
no, you didn't. You explained it nicely. Yeah. Well, to like kind of deter to something a tad bit, like, to continue. So like with economics, for example, like I've learned over the past like week or two, like 3 weeks, economics is all about the who, how, and for whom type of decisions. Like, what are we going to make? How will it be produced? Who will it be for? And like, it's all of like this different stuff to make sure that, like, you know, like the country has like a steady amount of like economic growth and like trade and whatnot. And so like to keep each economy flowing with one another. And so like, I think that, like, you know, like, shoot, I hate it when that happens. Like, I'm literally like on a roll, and then like I'll be like, where was this going? Like, I hate when that happens. Yeah,
it's something about sitting in front of a camera, in front of like a computer. If I'm having a conversation with somebody, it's just like, it comes out so easily. But when it's just like through a screen, I'm like,
oh, anyway. Wait, okay, I got it. I know where I was going with this. Okay, so traditional economy is like, it's like each economic system focuses on those like it focuses on those questions of like, what are we going to make, how are we going to make it, and who will it be for. Like, every economic system focuses on those questions, but it, like, each one is different because of who actually makes those decisions or who determines those decisions. So like within like a traditional economy, you have like, or a traditional economic system, you have like tradition that bases like, you have like tradition that determines like those questions, like, oh, we've always done it this way, so this is how it will be done, you know, like that type of stuff. And while it is separate to like other economic systems, I definitely think that it can be applied to those, like each one at the same time. You know, it's like capitalism, like no one actually knows, like, well, some people, well, yeah, like there are people who do know what it means, obviously, and there are people who are like anti-capitalist and whatnot. But I think that most people don't know because we're just taught that that's how the country runs and that's how it's always been. So therefore we'll continue doing it this way,
Right.
Which then turns into a traditional economy. And I think that like, you know, it's time that like we stop like perpetuating like this idea that like other, you know, like for example, like with communism, like I said before, like a lot of people kind of make it seem like it's a personality trait instead of like actually acknowledging what communism means and what it is, you know, like, and people just like when they hear communism, they automatically think like, oh, spies, Russian spies.
Yeah.
Like that's literally all they think about instead of like actually taking the time to acknowledge like, oh, like there are other economic systems and political systems out there that would be much better for us than capitalism. Because in capitalism, what you're doing essentially is all in the fact that it's like private owners, you know, doing things for like profit or self-interest.
Right.
You know, rather than by like the state or like other things and whatnot. And so people see, like I said, like people see in the media that there's like these millionaires and billionaires and now trillionaires who take it upon themselves to fly into space at Elon Musk by himself, you know, just because he can. There are people like, you know, like who have like the biggest like online market space, you know, in the world, Jeff Bezos. And like, and they see like people like, you know, like the Kardashians and the Jenners and like the different people out there who are like influencers who have all these things,
Which,
you know, like,
I think, you know, sorry to interject, but
oh no, you're totally fine.
on the topic of like celebrities, you know, I challenge people to recognize the idea, like the reason why we have celebrities, why we you know, why we practice so much idol worship, which, you know, a couple episodes ago we talked about idols. And you know, I challenge people to question, when we idolize these people, what we're actually idolizing is capitalism. We're idolizing these people who have exploited people to get where they are. The only way to get to be a mega millionaire, a mega billionaire, a mega trillionaire is to exploit
others.
somebody else. So
Yeah.
I challenge people to question why we idolize those people. Another thing that I wanted to say about the economics of communism. So whenever people think that communism is, you know, bad for the economy, which I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to the second part of my statement. The first part I challenge that idea by pointing out that the way that the economy works is people buy things and sell things, and the way it keeps going is people buy more things, people sell more things. And you know, we've been getting these stimulus checks, right? So this is an example of this. So the point of those stimulus checks is to stimulate the economy. It's to give people money, because we know that when a person does not have money, what are they going to do when they get money? They're going to spend it because they need to spend it because they don't currently have money. So the idea that like communism is bad because it's bad for the economy is ridiculous because literally the thing that is happening is rather than a bunch of money that sits there, while Jeff Bezos sits on a throne of money, there's people who will never, he'll never be able to spend all that money. Like, it's literally not possible to spend. He could spend and spend and spend. He makes thousands of dollars every second. So there's always more money. He could never spend all of that money. While there's other people on the other hand who don't have enough money for a house to live. People are dying because they do not have enough money. There are so many fatalities of capitalism, and people always want to talk about people don't want to mention and recognize that, you know, so many people die every year from starving, from not having a basic living income. So the point I'm trying to make is that when people have money, they spend money. There are people who do not have money. If it was an evenly distributed, if people actually had money, if everybody had the same amount of money, that money would be spent, and the economy would actually be stimulated by that. And also, like in that episode, he talks about how there would be nobody would want to do anything. If there's no incentive, nobody's going to work. But in communism, people own the means of production, meaning that the factories that people worked at, they would in part own. Everybody would own the things that they are a part of. And if that were the case, the incentive would be to grow what they are doing, to do what they are doing better. Also, that concept is like bonkers to me, because like, people volunteer to do things. People do things because they are passionate about things. And so the second part of what I was going to say, which I'll say quickly because I've been talking, is that why are we always so focused on the economy and the monetary aspects of things, and not focused on the well-being of people, the emotional well-being of people, the passions of people, the hopes of people, which is, you know, what he was saying is that communism is bad because people aren't allowed to have dreams and aren't allowed to have hopes and dreams and do what they want. But that's some bullshit, because people aren't allowed to have those now. Listen to 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. That's what I have to say to these people. Listen to 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
That's the answer. That's my communist anthem.
Yeah.
Anyway, your turn, Melora.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, like, we see these people, like, in the media who are, like, you know, like, these wealthy, famous people who, like, also, like, it's just so interesting because, you know, I see those people, and of course, like, I also like different, like, famous people and whatnot at the same time, but, like, I have no desire to be like them.
Right.
You know, like, I see them and I'm like, yeah, like, I want to have cute clothes and I want to have, like, different stuff, but, like, I can live my life without a Chanel bag. Thank you. Like,
right.
I think I can live my life, you know, without, like, some whatever type of bag. Like, quite frankly, I think I, like, would be better having, like, you know, like a hand-me-down designer bag than actually buying one for myself, you know, like, and I'm not saying that, like, those things are also bad either, but at the same time, you have to, like, I think you have to, like, look at it and understand that those people have those things because, like, are able to buy those things because they've exploited people to get the money that enables them to buy those things.
Right.
You know, like, you know, last year I was reading, like, different, like, threads on how, like, different celebrities have, like, these fashion label companies, and how, like, specifically, like, I was reading a thread about, like, like, Kendall and Kylie's little, like, weird clothing brand thing that they apparently have, and how, like, they haven't paid their factory workers at all. Like, they didn't pay them at all.
Yeah.
Even though they had made the next line or something like that, or like or like it was something about, like, their next line or something like that, where I think they halted, like, production was, like, halted for some reason, not on, like, the workers' part, but, like, on their part, and then, like, they just were never paid for, like, producing the things that they had made. And I was like,
well, yeah, that's the thing right there. It's like people there's like you're encouraged. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel
Kylie
said,
Jenner didn't
yeah,
pay any of the laborers.
that's like that's the whole thing is like, people are encouraged to buy these designer things and encouraged to like make themselves look good, make themselves feel better about themselves by buying all of these things. And then on the other side of that is the exploitation of these workers, which if they owned the means of production, they wouldn't be in that situation. There would not be exploited labor of these people. They would not be being paid. They would not be being paid. That was a weird way to say that, but they would be being paid if they had a share in this. It's just,
Yeah.
and like it's like this the whole capitalist myth of the trickle down economics, like because Kylie Jenner is making so much money, they should be getting some of that, right? So it should be the capitalist idea is that she's making this much and then it's going to trickle down and they're going to when she gets more they're going to be getting more, but really what's happening is her cup is just getting bigger and bigger and they're never getting a piece of this money. They're making these things for her to sell, so she does none of the work. They are doing all of the work and she gets the products.
Yeah, the cup never overflows. The cup itself just gets bigger. That way, as whenever you pour more and more into it, it never overflows.
Right.
It's just sad because I remember, I think like a week ago in my economics class, we were learning like the different definitions of certain stuff. And there was one, I forget the word, but I know specifically it was talking about like it actually my teacher was mentioning an example actually of like like laborers that don't get paid like barely anything at all because of the economies and whatnot, and how they like participate with each other or like they engage with one another. And it was weird because he explained it in a way that was like, obviously it's like unfair, but the way in which he said it works is that whenever like we are like asking like other people like across the sea to make like the products for us, it's because they make those products for us that in return they get a job, rather than like, oh, like you'll be paid like some of my money. Like instead you just get this job and I'll pay you like how much I want. That way I get most of the profits, which means that you get less money. And so it was just very interesting. But back to what I was saying, like, yeah, like a lot of people see those people and they're not they're just motivated to get money without realizing like in a way. Yeah,
there's so many of those like boys who like love Jeff Bezos and love Elon Musk, and they're just like,
I don't think I've ever met anyone who actually likes Elon Musk.
I know so many of those dudes, and I'm like,
it's just sad that he's a Cancer. Wait, born the day after me. So sad. Oh, Elon.
Yeah. The other thing I was gonna say about like the thing, like the people, like a lot of times people who are anti-communism will be like, look at China, everything's so bad in China. I'm like, that's because America exploits them. Like, what are you talking about? They're like, show pictures of them like making Nike shoes or something, and they're like, look how bad it is. I'm like,
I know, it's just funny that everyone thinks that like every country does everything just for themselves and that's it, right. As if there's no interaction with like anyone else except for our own country. I'm like, if that were the case, we wouldn't be able to travel to Europe or like anywhere across anything. Right, like, how do you think that like
can't go anywhere?
The economies only work when you trade with one another. That is how economic growth happens. Like with like each country, like you trade within one another to keep it growing and to keep it wealthy, depending on the country that you live in, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, but yeah, like, I was just going to say, like, but as you were saying, yeah, like, people see that, like, oh, like, I can have an easier life if I make this amount of money, without realizing that, like, in order to get there, like you said, you have to exploit other people.
Right.
to make
there's
that
not there's
amount.
not yeah, there's not an infinite amount of money. There's this much
Yeah.
money, and when Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk take this much of the money, that means there's this much money for the rest of us. Like that
Mhm.
that kind of just goes over people's heads.
Yeah, exactly. And instead of people being like, oh, he's like a achiever, like no one's actually mad about the fact that he's a trillionaire, which I find is interesting because I'm like,
Did it all
you do
in-
understand that he could literally solve world problems with that money, global issues with
yeah.
that money, yet
the
he
last
doesn't.
thing I'm gonna say before we sign off, because we have 1 minute, is that like there's also this illusion that it's like all in other countries, but also we use prison labor, which is in the U.S. where we pay cents per hour. So the maximum wage that they can be paid is I think $1 and like 5 cents or something. Anyway, that's all I've got for you. Don't pay attention to what your kids are learning in school and what they're learning at home, because or what they're learning in media, because
And pay
there's
attention to what is being shown to
a lot
you
of
as well. Not
Yeah,
just the parents,
yeah.
but pay attention to what you're being shown as
Absolutely.
well.
because there's all the information that you are receiving gets to you because somebody wanted you to see it. And think about the reason why people want you to see things. Think about where they got their information. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of news that has been spread as entirely real and goes from one media company to another that's just been shown to be blatantly false. So just pay attention to things and try to get your information from first person accounts. Anyway,
Signing off,
that's all
guys.
we got.
Bye, everyone. We'll see
Bye.
you the next time in the next
Yes.
episode.